Can you see her? This is my dog Margie, who obviously has had a very long day. I just I couldn't help but share her with you. Otherwise known as Marjorie. She's my baby, and she's back after staying with my parents for a couple months because of my travels. I didn't expect so much time to go by before I actually got to do this again. It's been a really busy week at school. There is a question that I've been getting basically since, well, on my Goodreads, on my Facebook, various other sort of social media pages and things like that. And basically it is asked, when is the sequel for Phase coming out? And I've answered in these places, but I thought I would just put it out there officially that there is no official date for the sequel as of yet. And I'm very sorry about that. A book takes a lot longer process than you would believe. And, it won't even probably come out this summer, which would be what you'd think would be the appropriate time, as Phase came out last summer, at least on ebook. So I don't know. As soon as I do know, I will certainly announce it on my blog and various other places and everything like that. So sorry about that. Also, I realized I made no comment to the fact that my hair, which looks really awesome right at this moment, is not what my author photo looks like. I went blonde in October, last semester, and I'm not really sure why. I just like changing my hair. As you can see, it's very grown out at this moment, which means my hair appointment will be next week. It's just the thing I do. I don't get multiple piercings, and I've never gotten a tattoo, although I think about it a lot. And so this is my way of changing things up. The other thing I'd like to talk about today is that, well, for the reason I'm going to do this is because I know that when I like a book and it has a cast of characters, anything about that the author offers about the characters and sort of other little quirks about them or deleted scenes or anything like that, I get really excited. So I thought I'd talk a little bit, well, in general, maybe a couple of videos, but today talk about Sophie, as she is our protagonist of Phase. It's, oh, Sophie. She was a very deliberate character. My students have read, well, a few of my students have read my book, and they love to point out how much Sophie sounds like me, which makes sense for many reasons. One, that I wrote the book, and of course my personality would come out in my writing. It's hard not for it to. The other thing is that I based Sophie very much upon my high school self. Not because it was wishful thinking, which is okay. I mean, a lot of people do that, and that's how you start writing, is that life is so boring, so you put yourself into a story and everything works out fine. You get the boy. People think you're wonderful. I think most writers probably start out that way. But that wasn't the intent here. It was a very deliberate choice to base a character off myself so fully. And the reason is when I realized that Jules was a foster kid, and therefore the things that go along with that are, trust issues and sort of an abrasive personality, someone who would lash out and completely close off, I needed a character to, not fight back, who would keep coming back with sort of almost an unconditional love. As Sophie says, kind of in her own ramblings, the prose, she's a glutton for punishment. And so when I realized that I needed a character like that to make this friendship and this dynamic really work, when I thought glutton for punishment, I figured, oh, well, that's me. At least me in high school. So her sort of wanting the best out of everyone, or assuming the best out of everyone, and not fighting back but kind of apologizing even when it's not her fault, That's me. Or that was me. It might still be me. I'm not sure. She's much sunnier than I was. I was pretty angst-ridden. I had terrible mood swings. My poor parents. But, you know, that sort of caring first, trusting first before, you know, anything bad happens. That's still very me. Also, her rambling is me. Not perhaps to the extent that she does. She's a little more reserved, which worked better for the story, because had I liked a guy like Ezra as long as Sophie had, I probably would have told him well before my senior year. So Sophie worked that better than I would. And also the other thing about Sophie that I based really solely on my life is I knew that for Sophie to be the type of character that she was, in contrast to the family, and the idea that lying to her parents would be so very, you know, horrifying, she would need to come from a really strong family, a very loving, open, close family, which I came from. My parents and I are very, very close, and that's wonderful. So when Sophie has to lie because of the nature of the story and the wolves and everything, it's really hard for her. And that doesn't work for a lot of teenagers. And I'm not judging or anything like that, because people have different lives and things like that. But, you know, some teenagers lie to their parents all the time. But for Sophie, I just needed that dynamic. And because of that, Sophie's parents they have a few of the quirks that my parents have. The most obvious one is the fact that Sophie's dad can never remember Juliet's name. He calls her Julia, probably various other things that don't show up in the actual book. My dad is notoriously bad with names. He's a good man, but names just are not his forte. He appreciated reading that. And there's nothing stranger than having your father read a book geared towards teenage girls. He sees things very differently than perhaps how I see the characters or how most of my readers would see them. I think that's really all I was going to say about Sophie. The reason that she's not particularly skinny or gorgeous, you know, like Naomi or Jules, is because I sort of wanted an average girl. And not all of us are born super skinny. And I didn't want to make a very large girl, because that's dealing with weight issues, and although I think it's very important to talk about, and perhaps I will in a book someday, I didn't think there was time to sort of tackle those sort of issues with everything else going on in the book, and it didn't seem right. So she's kind of a little pudgy, but not like, you know, horribly obese. She just basically had to be, you know, she couldn't be too pretty so that people would pay attention because she was so pretty, and boys would hit on her, and girls would be jealous or seek fashion tips. I don't know. But she couldn't be so ugly that she also got attention that way and was ostracized. She sort of had to fall in the middle. Because nobody hates Sophie. Summer does, but I think Summer actually really hates Sophie because there's actual jealousy. Sophie's heart and warmth and she kind of glows, at least in my head she does, with a kind of this strength in her because of what her family has given her and the love that she is willing to give to people without any questions asked. I think Summer recognizes that as being something very valuable and resents Sophie for having that. That Sophie is truly, in a lot of ways, she makes mistakes, a good person. And maybe not. I don't know. I just psychoanalyzed Summer Harlan, my red-headed mean girl who would verbally lacerate you and punch you at the same time, which is fun, by the way, to write. So I think that's Sophie. I hope this was interesting. If not, you don't have to listen to the whole thing. And I'll probably do another video about Jules because I love Jules, and maybe Ezra, maybe some of the other characters. That would be pretty cool. So My dog is still sleeping. It's really late. I'm in fact not even sure how late it is right now. But until next time, I hope you had a lovely Valentine's Day and a good President's Day. And we'll talk again soon. Bye.